Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Outside Dad YouTube channel. We're getting ready to do the first backpacking trip of the year, going out to the Chelan Shoreline Trail, 17-mile hike, and was getting all my gear together and thought maybe we should take a look at it, go over what I have, and see if anybody has any questions. As always, gotta have a good beer. So first, we have the Outdoor Vitals Shadowlight 60. I've had this for about one season now. It's a great pack. One of my favorite things is the two Lycra pockets on the outside that run basically the length of it, as well as a zipper to access all your gear. It does take away from some of the waterproofness of it, but if it's gonna rain, I always just pack all of my sleeping gear inside of a garbage bag or a Nylofume bag at the bottom. Keeps it all perfectly dry. It has 4 other external pockets on the sides that all cinch down with some cordage. On the back, you have 2 pretty comfy straps with anchor points I usually keep my Garmin on there. Some pretty decent load lifters. I'm curious as to how long they'll last just from the amount of load that they take. They have 2 hip belt pockets that are pretty reasonably sized. This is a large hip belt for myself as a larger guy, and this is also the wide version. It has a foam back that is supposed to help dissipate heat and stop sweat and condensation, and it pulls out and it doubles as a sit pad. I think it does a pretty poor job for dissipating heat. However, I like the backpack enough that I continue to use it. It's a roll top bag with some Velcro at the top, and it has on the inside a removable frame if you're somebody who likes going without a frame and you're trying to save an ounce or 2, held in by Velcro. And there's also this bag that's meant to hold, they say you can put in a bladder in there and be able to use that. I have yet to try it. I think I'm going to give it a shot on this trip because I do like having a bladder. But I usually use this for like my bathroom kit, my pack towel, and a couple other things. So we'll see. I've tried the Smart Water Bottle route, but I don't care for the Sawyer brand water filters, and we'll get into that a little later. For shoes, I'm also going with something new. These are the Adidas Terrex. They're the Free Hikers. They are Boost. They have a nice torsion system and good lugs on them. They're super popular. I have only used these once so far when I went fishing a couple weeks ago, and they were pretty great for everything except these tops are kind of thin and they do get pretty cold. So I do pair them with a pretty thick sock. The only other complaint I have so far is that they don't have heel locks. And heel locks, I've been using the Hoka Speedgoat 5s, and I only had one instance where I started to get a blister from them after a pretty tough hike, and those heel locks were great to be able to reduce the friction and kind of make your shoe, foot all one piece, so it helped kind of take some of that stress off. So we'll see how these do going on an actual hike, but so far trying them out fishing and climbing over rocks last week, they were pretty great. The next thing I have is the Fly Creek HV UL2. Another new one to me this year. I got this on Black Friday. I believe this is a 2022 version. It's the solution dyed. And what I really like about these is I had been using a Marmot Tungsten 2, which came in about 4.5, 5 pounds. And it was just a lot. I mean, I actually have it sitting right here. And when you put them next to each other, it's a pretty crazy size difference. The difference with this one being is that it's more so built for if you were to try and fit 2 people in it, having a mummy style bag. I don't necessarily, and my pads are rectangles, they're square ends. So this is my one-man tent. But what's nice is that the vestibules actually have, the footprint goes to the end of it. So you actually have a good amount of space that's up and out of the weather. So that's going to be a new one to try this year. The only thing I have is that, the only reservation I have is that I normally use the MSR Pocket Rocket stakes. I'm going to be trying out Big Agnes's little stakes. I don't know if you can see that very well, but they're kind of dinky. They're kind of flimsy. There's not a whole lot of friction. It comes with, the tent itself comes with, I mean, this has got to be, 4, 8, 10, 11 stakes. So I would think between those 11 flimsy little stakes, should be able to get the job done. I have a friend who's actually using my other tent on this trip, and so all my pocket rockets, the groundhog stakes, the groundhog stakes are actually all being used, and I just haven't bought any repair yet. For my rain jacket, I'm using what I used all of last season. It's just a pretty simple Marmot rain jacket, taped seams, all that fun stuff. Pretty simple. For my warmth, I'm going with the Patagonia, I believe this is the Nano Cell. Got it on sale for 130 bucks last year. I used it, I think, on a couple hikes before the end of this, before it got too warm and didn't really need it. It served me really well all winter. Going, sledding with the kids, we spent a lot of time in Cle Elum and Leavenworth, and it's been great for that. For my thermal layer, I actually just use a cheap Target hoodie. It has thumb holes to try and keep it in, keep them down on your thumbs, keep it lower on your hands. I do actually get cold hands. I wear shorts most of the time, and as long as my core stays warm, I'm good. So this one keeps it down with the thumbs. I usually have gloves, keep everything pretty good. I usually wear just the standard Patagonia Capilene t-shirt. This one's pretty dirty from hiking up to Lake Isabel last year, scraping through the dirt and climbing over rocks. Works great, all paired together. For bed, I do wear pants. I just have these old REI base layer pants that I used under my snowboard pants back when I snowboarded, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. They work great. I pair them with a pair of dry socks. We'll go to those next, actually. So I prefer to use the Darn Tough brand. These are a medium cushion, and they're great on the bottom of your foot. They help kind of add to the cushion that comes from your shoe and give you a little bit more spring in your step, a little bit less fatigue on the feet. Those are a mid, and then I also, these ones are dirty. They just haven't been, they need to be washed still, but these ones are a low. These ones won't work very well with the free hikers because of the higher ankle on them. They're more of a mid style. So these are better for my Hokas, but we're gonna give them a shot. And that's about all when it comes to my clothes. I keep all of my clothes, and this was off of Etsy. It's just a DCF. I think this was, the name of the brand is kind of faded off. It's Ultralight Sax, and that I got it on, it's Ultralight Sax. Picked it up on Etsy, as well as a couple other stuff sacks for my Marmot tent. I actually used a compression sack for that to keep it all nice and tight. But this is a medium. I think it's considered a 7-liter bag, fully taped, DCF. And I can take all of my gear, all of my clothes at least, and I can pack everything down in here, roll it up good and tight, work it towards the bottom, press out all my air, give her a shake, and that's all the space most of my clothes take up. Now, you will usually bring, another change of clothes, just in case, we wet out. But this takes up almost no room in the pack. Moving on to the sleep system. This is another one that I'm trying new this year. Last year I went almost the whole season using Climate Static V2. And for a guy my size, it doesn't work. You're basically sleeping on the ground. The thermal protection, the R value on it was okay. It was enough that I never really had a problem with being cold in the middle of the night, but it was just uncomfortable all the time. So this time, actually, after watching one of Dan Becker's videos, I opted to go with the Rapide SL insulated. And this is the 25 by 78. So 25 inches long by 78 inches, 25 inches wide by 78 inches long. Means that you don't have to put your backpack or your bag down at the bottom to keep your feet from going off the edge, because I'm 6 foot. So this will be a nice change of pace this year. I can't say it's perfectly brand new to me. My wife uses the Big Agnes. It's another one of the. It's another one. It's almost identical to this. It's the square. It's the rectangle one, but it's a 20 by 72, and it's by far more comfortable than the Climate. However, too short for me, and I'm more of a stomach sleeper, so it gets a little bit uncomfortable with the elbows hanging over the edge. So yeah, that'll be new this year. Looking forward to trying that. And the other part of my sleep system is the Outdoor Vitals Top Quilt 30 degree. I also have the 0 degree because I loved this one so much last year. During Black Friday, I bought the 0 degree. I'm going to let my buddy use the 0 degree this time because I'm kind of a hot sleeper. But the 30 degree has been an absolute stud. This one, I believe it is an 80, yeah, it's an 800 fill power. It's 54 by 78, and it's rated down to 30 degrees, and it only weighs about a pound for the whole thing. And this thing is, I've had this hanging up, so it took me a while to cram this into this stuff sack. But it's going to be hard to get even most of this in frame. What I love about it are the pad straps that actually wrap around the pad, so these edges actually seal to your pad and allow you to rotate through the night. And you can just keep your foot in the foot pocket, which goes to about the back of my knee. And it's got a nice trapezoidal foot box that allows your feet to kind of sit upright and give you some room to maneuver. It has a button for the draft collar to lock it around your head. If I can get it. There we go. Buttons around your neck, and then it has a cinch on the front and allows you to fully cocoon in there. If you get cold in the middle of the night, I'm able to still pull this up over my head, cinch it down, and I used this at Lake Wenatchee in November, and it got down to 7 degrees, and I was still able to use this 30 degree bag. So it's a workhorse. It does great. My wife uses it out on the back porch. We have a fire pit out there, and during winter, her and her friends will go sit out there, and it works out perfectly for them. The last piece I have is the Eros. This is the premium large pillow. I lost the first one I had, so this is actually my second one. Works great. Nothing fancy about it. It's an inflatable one. I do also have and use occasionally, sorry, it's off camera, if I can find it, there it is. I do have a couple of the Thermarest pillows. They work great. I think they just end up taking up too much space in the pack and for the amount of loft and comfort that they provide. I know some people love them. I just find I always have to rattle them around and really get them to puff up for an hour or two before I can get to bed. So I usually just opt to go with one of these, and I'll put a fleece, or I'll put something on top of it, just to be a tiny bit more comfortable. I really have no problems with it. I'm not too fussy when it comes to my sleep. Moving on to the gear part of it. I think everybody knows what these are. The Garmin InReach Mini. I believe this is the Mini and not the Mini 2. I honestly don't remember. I got it on sale. I believe I got it on Mercari for $200. Works great. Text the mom and wife and friends if I need to, let them know where I'm at. I pay for the middle subscription. I think it's $30 a month. Get tons of text messages. You can pay for weather if you need to. But overall, we've used it at elk camp. We've used it when we're going out to the beach, or if we're going out four-wheeling in the Jeep. I pretty much always have it with me. My headlamp, which I'm on the fence on, it worked great last year. I mean, I can't say I have any real complaints about it. It's the BioLite. I believe this is the 350. Doesn't say on it. I think it's a 350. It's a rechargeable. It works. It has 3 different light settings, or I guess it's actually, there's a floodlight, a spotlight, and then a red light. They all work great. It's a headlamp. We all use headlamps. The only thing I don't like, and I don't know how much you can see it there, but the same place that you flip it down to pivot is the same place where the button is, and it gets pretty obnoxious when you go to move it and you accidentally change your light setting, or you turn it off when you're trying to adjust to be able to see what you're doing. But it doesn't weigh that much, and it's rechargeable, which I prefer. I prefer to just carry a battery bank with me for camera, phone, drone that I have to fix, for whatever. It works pretty good. Like I said, no real complaints. I may just try something new this year and let the wife or kids use this one. We got a couple trips that we're looking to plan for the whole family. Next we'll move on to the Jetboil Stash, which this is my first Jetboil. I've used and borrowed friends' MSR pocket rockets, and they work great. You use a titanium pot, they're fine. This thing I absolutely love. It only weighs, I think the whole kit, it doesn't say on it, but the whole kit without the gas, I think only weighs like 7 ounces or 8 ounces. And the ability to store your fuel, as well as a lighter on top that has some feet to put your fuel on top of to give it a little extra boost, or give it a little stability. And then you're able to tuck in your actual burner in there that you can use a ton of different Jetboil accessories on. It boils water so fast. It weighs next to nothing, and it tucks up super small. I actually have some hot lips that I put on here so I can actually just drink straight out of it. Even if the edges are hot, it works out great. Absolutely love it. For coffee or tea in the mornings, sometimes oatmeal, the GSI Outdoors mug, it's great. This one is specifically Drew Brew branded. But you can take the whole thing out and actually use it to measure your water for whatever you're cooking. And it doesn't feel like drinking out of one of those little silicone dog bowls. My wife was the one who actually convinced me to get one of these. It's great. Love it. This is my Helinox high back Chair Zero. So it actually weighs about 1.5 pounds versus the Chair Zero, which weighs 1 pound. It works great. It's a little big, and it fits perfectly onto the side of the backpack, and I can strap it in, and it just takes up one of the pockets on the outside. Easily accessible for when you get to lunch or something, and sit back. As a bigger guy at 265 pounds, this chair can still hold me. I broke one of the legs once sitting in sand, and we were throwing rocks at a stump, and I sunk into the sand, and as I did, my weight shifted, broke one of the support pieces. Helinox, for free, shipped me out a replace. They offered for me to send it to them, and they would fix it and then send it back. Or they could just send me the instructions. I had it fixed within a week. Fantastic piece. Helinox is great. I have an REI brand camp chair over there that I use for the kids. I'm probably gonna buy another one of these for the wife because she always steals it when we go. And then I end up using either the Climate sit pad in my backpack, or I have a Nemo chipper little Z foam guy. But for 160 bucks, it's a little expensive, but the comfort is awesome. Absolutely love it. I also carry a pack towel. This is all part of the MSR. I don't remember who owns them all, but pack towel and MSR and a couple other brands all fall into the same. This is the hand size. This is meant for your hand, works for your whole body. I've taken it out to, I took it out to Lake Isabel last year with my 4-year-old. Don't recommend doing that again, by the way. Wait till your kids are older. That hike gets to be a little daunting towards the end. But was able to dry my daughter off and myself with this one towel. Toss it out in the sun, it's dry in 20 minutes. I've been recording a video that you're in the middle of now. All right, we're back. Wife needed to talk about something. Just a couple things left on here. This is the Hydro Pack 2-liter. I also just recently purchased the 3-liter. I chose these because they pack up super small, can cram them pretty much in anywhere. I keep mine on the upper pockets on the outside so I can actually just reach back and grab them real quick. Don't have to take the pack off, fill up water real quick, and you have these. I sometimes, if it's hot enough out, will actually strap it to my chest strap and use it kind of like a heat sink against my body. Especially during the summer, it's nice. I use the Katadyn BeFreeze. Like I said, I have these on both of these Hydro Packs. Super fast, super reliable. I intentionally did not go with the actual Katadyn kit because those bottles, from everything I've read, they tend to break, and especially at the worst places, right around the top here, when you're trying to really flex on them. This thing, I have had this thing scrunched all the way up, really pressing out the last ounce of water. I can filter out 2 liters of these in 2 minutes, minute and a half. You can really crank out some water in these. I have friends who use the gravity systems with the Sawyers. A buddy of mine uses the Life Straws. I've found this to be the best. You get the most out of your water. Tastes great, works great every time. I've only had one instance where I felt like my flow was slow, and one of the things they tell you to do is to have this with water and leave some air at the top, and then you actually just push it all together and you kind of force it to kind of spread open those fibers again, and it works great. I think I've had this for a year now. This will probably be the last trip with this filter, and then I'll switch out to another one. I bought a brand new filter for this guy. Next, I have the Gerber, I believe this is called the Gerber Pack Out. Maybe it's a Stakeout. Great little multi-tool, just bought it on the REI sale. One of the main reasons was because my other multi-tool is a little big. My other knife that I carry is another one I got off of Garage Grown Gear. It's 3D printed, completely reusable, just uses your standard safety blade razors. It takes 3 screws, replace it. This is great. I carry this every day over any other knife. Super light, fits in the pocket great. But this guy specifically has a bunch of different tools, tweezers, standards. This guy I'm finding is actually a little bit of a pain to get out. I've only really gotten it out one other time. but it's actually built specifically to go onto the loops on your stakes. I don't know if you can see that. Go onto the loops on your stakes, be able to use it to grab it and pull it for those ones that are really stuck in there in between a couple rocks, where you need that extra mechanical advantage without tearing your fingers apart. Also has a little file on the back. It's got your standard shears, has an owl. You can actually strike a ferro rod on it. That's one other piece actually about this knife, is it actually has a ferro rod on the back of it. It's not the most consistent when you're trying to strike, but you just use the back end of the knife, and you can actually, and there's a little spark there, but you can actually throw out a pretty good spark with this guy. And it's just one screw, comes right out, and you can actually replace the whole ferro rod on it. Super great little tool. I'll have to find who makes them. I'll put them in the description. They're great. Absolutely love this thing. I have a little mini first aid kit. Has some gauze in it, some tape, antiseptics, some bite relief, and just a handful of small Band-Aids. Use it for the wife and kids. I carry it alongside a big, I actually have it sitting right here. I usually keep a thing of moleskin in there for whoever needs them. I usually don't have blisters, so I typically don't carry it if it's just me. But if I'm with a group or my wife or kids, these are invaluable. I have from Hilltop Packs, I don't remember if I mentioned it on it, but actually my chair cover is also a Hilltop Packs bag. But this is specifically for my bathroom kit, and I use just the little water expanding towels for toilet paper, and then I actually have the Vargo, I believe it's the Vargo Dig Dig. It's great, serrated edges, so you can actually cut through roots if you're really getting down in there, if you're near a tree, or if you're in some like heavy brush where you got a lot of small roots. This works great to dig through it. Some people say that they have a problem with really grasping onto it and it cuts into your hands. I have yet to have that happen, but I do know some people have that problem. One of the other features with this is you can actually take it and knock this down into the ground, and it works as an emergency stake. It has a point that you can tie off to, or you can actually wrap around the outside for your guy lines. Have yet to try it. Don't know that I'll ever need it, but if you find something that weighs nothing, it's made out of titanium, weighs almost nothing, and it serves two purposes, great, works awesome. Another thing I'm doing this year is bringing a notebook with a Sharpie. Just give me a chance to write down some things. I really don't take any time and sit and write anything at all on my day-to-day life, but I thought being out in nature, having this with me would be a great piece to have. Last, but not, or almost last, is a cheap trekking pole. This one I got for free from work. Has a cork grip. It's a flip lock style. Fully extends out to about 54 inches. I've actually used it on my, I have a Lux Outdoors Hex Peak, and I've used this as my center pole before. The only thing I don't like about this one, and why I will probably upgrade, I do have a second one. I've just already set up a kit for my friend who's coming with me this next week. The only thing I don't like about this one in particular is when you're on the trail, you can hear it as it hits, it vibrates. Of course, it doesn't do it right now, but it vibrates and it makes this clicking sound. And if I don't have a headphone in, listen to a book on tape or whatever, drives me absolutely insane. So this will probably be the last trip for these ones. I will keep them for my kids, enjoy using them when we're out on just average hikes, or if we're out playing in the yard and I set up the TP for them, they'll use it, but otherwise these ones in particular, just due to the clicking, drive me absolutely insane. And my last piece It's going to be kind of hard to see. This was another Etsy find. This is actually a tiny little Scrabble board that I have inside with a deck of cards. And I believe I did the math a while ago. This whole piece with the deck of cards plus the pieces and the cribbage board only weighs about 90 grams. It's super light. You can definitely feel it's a little flimsy. But if you take care of it, it's a nice little board. A great way to pass the time. A lot of my friends and I play cribbage when we have time, when we're out camping with the families. We play card games, dice games, and cribbage. So this is my last little guy that I have to show off today. If you guys have any questions, let me know. This is all gear, most of it that I've used for at least one season, so I've got a pretty good grasp of it, how it functions, how I like to use it. The only things that are new this year, like I said, are the Big Agnes tent, the Terex. Used them once. They should be great. And I think that's, and then the technically the stakeout, pack out, whatever the heck this thing is called. This is also brand new, but it's a tool with a knife. I don't expect to have a whole lot to say about it. Otherwise, everything else is pretty well used and tested. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you have anything you want to see more in depth of. I'm going to try and record as much as I can out on the trail this next week. And yeah, otherwise you guys have a great day. Cheers.